I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Ask is the only tool to access live People Also Ask data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
So, hi guys, today we will speak about how to do content auditing for small and big websites with SEO and web data. It's not only about SEO nowadays, I mean, you already know this stuff. This is me, I specialize in Python, BigQuery, this technical stuff, but also the business side of web analytics, because I think we are too focused on containers, GTM, GA4, which is tactical knowledge. Today I want to give you tactical and strategical knowledge and operational knowledge. I run a newsletter and website, you can always check it out, it's fine. If you have these problems, like if you cannot find where to focus with content, or if you don't know which data to use because you have GSE, you have GA4, you have log files, you have crawl data, you have even Salesforce if you're doing B2B, you have everything at your disposal, not for content, for evaluating the customer journey, for example. You don't know where to start, this presentation in 20 minutes will give you some insights and some ideas where you can start. Or if you are too SEO focused, which is common, if you think content is only for one channel, too bad for you. I will change your mind today. But yes, if you are too SEO focused, this is for you as well. I will show you a framework that you can use for content auditing that does not only involve SEO data, mostly, but not just SEO data. How to go beyond SEO, how you can create something better, let's say, and which analysis and how this analysis fits into your business or the organization you're working for, and the processes that you can use for this data. So what is a content audit? Very simple. You review your content and ideally, you build an inventory, you build a plan because you want to document this data. You don't want to just give advice and say, cool, this is what I found, okay. And then, how do you store this information? How do you use it over time? How it can be operationalized and systemized? Content is not just text, but yes, in web, pretty much what we analyze is text. So today, it will be text. Data is key, of course. The usual stuff everyone is telling you, like data is the new oil. Not really true, but in this case, yes, data is key. And most important advice that I also gave in October last year, you need to bring your data into BigQuery, please guys. Because if you don't, you have processed data, it's very hard for engineers, but also for technical people to work with the UI or the API data because they're very incomplete, plus Google makes money if you bring stuff to BigQuery, they're happy, everyone is happy, engineers are happy. So usually this is what I recommend, it's not even that hard. At the end, I will show you some resources how to do that, so you don't need to do anything. Because you want a single source of truth. If your colleague from finance or from marketing or from product tells you, yeah, but I got this data, you don't want this to happen. You want to have a single source of truth so that you can decide if content is performing well or not. This is more or less the stack I use. Subject to change, nothing strange. The usual engineering stuff, plus some great evergreens like Looker Studio, Power BI, if the company is enterprise or legacy, whatever, the usual stuff. The framework that I use is as follows. You first gather the requirements, you collect the data, if you don't have them, you clean the data, you start analyzing the website, and only then it doesn't work, okay? You run different analysis based on the query, the page, the cluster, and so on, to come to some insights, hopefully, and only then you tie these insights to the business so that you are able to give actionable, actions, and then you communicate these results, and hopefully you execute. Or maybe it's not you. Maybe you tell other people to execute, which is what I usually do. I don't write content. And prevention. Prevention is like preventing risk, like an insurance, right? So the full framework is here. Don't worry, there is a QR code. But not every website is the same. Because if you have a small website, you can afford flexibility. If you are a big website, you have different problems, like bureaucracy, politics. You are the elephant in the room. So big websites are good with brand and resources, which is great. They have more money than you. They can outspend you, right? But they struggle with complexity, bureaucracy, politics, implementing changes. Many reasons. Egos. e-posts, anything goes. Small websites, for example, I don't know, my personal website are simple, flexible, I can innovate. I don't have maybe the brand of a big company. I'm not SEMrush, of course. I don't have the same resources, but I can be flexible and simple. Remember this point, it will be important later. So to analyze big websites, usually this is the mindset I use. You define priorities, what you want to achieve, or what you think your client is interested in, and then you analyze specific sections of the website. You never analyze an entire website if you do bad, because if it's a big website, I would rather ask which questions are you asking, what are you trying to solve? Probably nothing. And you automate what's needed. You don't want to do the process every time, because maybe as a marketer you don't care. I mean, you just send the requirements for engineers or technical guys, do it. But for them it's a big deal, and also for the executive, because it's all money you're spending. If you automate it, you can scale it up, and you can also scale it down, and see how much you're spending over time in terms of business processes. So some people may get triggered, but it's true. For example, for publishers, content is vital for survival. It's the only asset they have. They have nothing else. For e-commerce, in my opinion, they have the weakest content of the bunch. It's usually post-sales or inside product and category pages. So for me, it's not content. Traffic metrics are leading indicators. And then B2B SaaS, which I think is the most complete, because you compete on thought leadership, awareness, everyone, even your grandma maybe as a B2B SaaS today. I mean, everyone has a B2B SaaS now. You have SEMrush, Ahrefs, they compete on content. They compete on vibes, on being cool, as you notice. And make people aware of your business and targeting their pain points. Okay, content is vital for everyone, of course. Publishers, well, they only have content. So now let's analyze data. Let's move to the analysis phase. You can scan this QR code for the resources, but it's also at the end. So you don't need to scan it now if you don't want. It's a Google Docs. You should have access to it, right? Wait. No, you can if you... Okay, so these are some metrics you know on the left, the basic ones. So clicks, impressions, CTR are all cool, but they are very come on guys, they are very basic and they don't tell you anything. The number of users for a page is useless. For different reasons, accuracy of the web data, how they are tracked, we don't care. You have advanced metrics, some of them I will show you today, the percentage of zero traffic pages and others. Unique query count, you should already know, it's very simple. You just, for example, understand how many unique different keywords you're ranking for with a page or the whole website, and Daniel Foley-Carter talked about it yesterday. It's exactly the same concept. Content decay and other metrics we will see. So site analysis, first you want an overview on the website. You want to say, let's see what happens. The percentage of anonymized queries, which is available in Search Console BigQuery, tells you how much Google is grifting you, how many data they are hiding in terms of queries, because you get a null. You don't know. Google tells you, yeah, you got 5,000 clicks. For what? I don't know. I have no clue. Don't ask me. This is how it works. It's not actionable. It's just to understand how much you're missing out, which is important for doing some estimates. And then you have the percentage of zero clicks. This 40% is an arbitrary number defined by me, just for the vibes. It means that if you have pages getting no traffic, it's bad for search. But remember, some pages should get zero traffic or no traffic, organically speaking, because they are for other channels. Remember that. And you want to measure risk. How is the traffic distributed? Like, if a lot of your traffic is coming from a handful of pages, you are cooked. Because if there is a small variation, if there is a very small variation in the competition, anything, in the environment, you lose more traffic because you are putting all of your eggs in this basket, which is this one. This is an example where the red line is the top 1% pages. What's left is the traffic given by these pages, which is tend to between 100 and 1,000 clicks for this website. It's 10 to the second, 10 to the third. And you see all of these, let's call it long tail, improperly, it's the other 99%. I show you this because people focus on quick wins, low-hanging fruits, which are terrible in the long run, because you also need to consider these pages in pink that are the golden nuggets. They stack up for big websites, not even too big, and they contribute more than your gold pages. We are taught to prioritize things, is true, but long term you also have to consider this minority, the silent minority that actually rules your website, because this is where you can add a lot of value, actually. So reducing risk. Multiple channels, monitoring systems, everything you can, which you already know, basic omni-channel marketing. You can also use Gephi. I have a resource in my QR code to analyze the internal links of the website. This is also a type of site analysis, because you analyze the entire website. Is it related to content? Yes and no. It's not only for content, but yeah, you can analyze the internal link at scale for medium websites. If it's big, you cannot really use Gephi. You have to use custom approaches, but it's not your job. You have the engineers for that. Page cluster analysis, analyzing the pages. Traffic is vanity, but you still want to know how many people are going there for awareness. And usually I tend to group them by groups based on my criteria, so that I'm able to understand who's good, who's bad. And then for each group, you define an action. If this page falls under the top group, it's a top player, then you may distribute it, you can post it under different formats, you can play around it. If you don't do this work, you just send a Google Sheets with no priorities, and managers or non-technical people will hate you, which is normal, but you should not. Evergreen content means which pages are your most reliable and stable over time, right? For example, how to paint rocks as a stable interest over time can be one example. It's all in my resources, right? You don't need to understand how I calculate it, it's there. And also content decay. Find which pages are losing performance over time. Everything in nature loses performance over time. Literally everything, it's a snowball. It snowballs slowly until you realize you are, well, cooked. So I have two flows in this case for analyzing traffic. It's another sub-process. Either I do a pivot table to see if pages are losing clicks, users, conversions, key events, whatever, over time, right? Or I just do this decay thing I was mentioning, where I calculate the slope, which is in my resources, and I have a summary. For every page, I can tell you if the performance is going up or down. And based on that, I can act and do something. Then you have query analysis, which is quite simple. Top 5 queries per pages, best queries by clicks, impressions. There is nothing crazy. For setting up the data, you don't only need Search Console, because guys, come on, no one cares about your queries. You need to care about conversions, sales, or custom events dimensions for the funnel, because they are how you actually measure making money. You can have something like this for the engineers, where every page, you have a table where every page has different metrics. It's like an inventory. I call it single page view. And you can check my previous presentation from October 24, because, I mean, it's the same topic otherwise. Communication. You should read this book to communicate your data findings. It's called Storytelling with Data. It's quite mainstream and popular. The main takeaways are that when presenting data, have a big idea. 1 or 2 sentences that describe the overall picture. So the shortest summary of your takeaways. Like 70% loss in clicks caused by worse performance in this section. Like, why did you have a loss? This one. 70% of the traffic is given by news content, which is bad. It's risky. Why don't you have evergreen content, more evergreen content? The numbers are just examples. Content efforts have produced 20% more qualified leads and decreased ad spend of 30%. You cannot always estimate these numbers, of course. It's not that simple. Attribution is never simple. This is just an idea for the big idea. 3-minute story, I mean, guys, it's written in the name. It's a story that lasts 3 minutes, because usually that is the attention span. Never go beyond 3 minutes, because people usually don't listen, managers in particular. Takeaways, or a bullet list, which is what I like. Just a bullet list. Now, let's move to content management, which is one of the key topics. Content management relies on operations, which require proper management. Content is not just strings and text, it's much more. But if you want to scale it, you should think about processes in a company, because content does not live in a vacuum, right? It's part of an organization of people working on something. So you need a content inventory for management, where you list the metadata. Mandatory for big websites. If you work for big publishers, they have something like this, in Airtable or any competitor. NocoDB is my favorite because I don't pay for it. It's for small websites, it's free, open source, which is fine. You can create something like this, where you can show, for example, the pages, how you are performing over time, the status, which is not data available in Search Console. Maybe it's in your CMS. Something you can also do with Tag Manager. Not always. It's better to do it manually, or even do it with labeling machine learning, depending on the size of the website. This is a template from my friends, grey.co. You can find this resource there. Don't worry, it's in the QR code. Now, how do we take actions? You need to understand and to communicate people, editors, writers, how often to update your content. If you have an article about the best laptops every 8 months, probably you need to update it because there is the new Dell XPS, the new MacBook, the new Surface, whatever. In other cases, it's very slow. How to paint rocks, for example, is a very, I think, standard topic, unless they discover new techniques. You can classify pages by decay or seasonality, which means what I showed you before, based on how often or how quick they decay and how stable they are over time. And always tie your insights to an action. Like if you say cluster A is way cool, the manager can ask you, yeah, cool, and what? And then what? Then we need to do this. We need to improve it. How do we improve it? And you tell them, you create a process. Something like this. Pages with lower clicks, probably we optimize or prune them. Best pages, we may distribute them. Think about actions, processes, systems. Actions is the single tactic, the single task. Processes are the operations. The system is closer to the grand/strategy. More or less, you have to think in these terms, operational terms. Otherwise, you just do audits, and that's it. No one implements them. The content distribution repurposing is important. As you know, use native formats if you have to publish an article, especially in B2B, super important. Do like SEMrush or these companies, they create a carousel, they try 1 billion different formats, they test them based on the platform they are in to maximize their reach. Because based on the format, you have different multipliers. I don't know if you ever tested it on LinkedIn, carousels are crazy in terms of performance compared to some random text or a naked URL. Complementary reinforcing effects means that consider other channels when doing content. Complementary means inbound plus outbound, or vice versa. Reinforcing is the same group, like SEO, organic social, and organic YouTube are a great example for content creators. I just do mostly social and email, right? You can say complementary in a certain sense, and it works wonders. Or creating a monitoring system like that, where you are able to tell if something goes wrong, yes, get notified, and implement the corrective actions. Non-technical people appreciate this order because they will be like, oh my gosh, this guy is so technical, they talk about this SEO stuff, I don't care. You have to put yourself in the shoes of these people because many managers, but even engineers, they don't really care much about our job. And we don't care about theirs, to be honest. But it's important to collaborate and to understand these dynamics, especially if you work for enterprise accounts or big websites. For small websites, you don't care much. But this section is specifically for small websites. If you want something, you know, more practical, not just data, if you want something even more practical, small websites cannot compete one-on-one. You cannot compete with SEMrush with your new website. I mean, you're doomed. You cannot compete. So you need specific tactics. You need to implement tactics. These are not strategies. These are tactics. They are the lowest level available, right? For example, flanking. All of these are taken from actually military science. Then they were repurposed and they resolved in marketing and business as new concepts. But these are super old, very old ideas applied to websites. If you have a small website, it's easier to target their flank. So a big website like SEMrush does not cover my topics because it's not ideal for their target audience. It's not what they do. Maybe they mention them. I know they are weak, so I can target and attack them. For example, I don't know, topic number 4. I focus on one topic or one audience, I drill down, and big players don't care. They don't have the flexibility to react, or they don't have the return to act, which is very important. Guerrilla, if you know Wendy's, you know, roasting people, stereotype subversion, being edgy, being aggressive, also works. It's hard. This is hard to pull off because being viral or being different is quite hard. It's a skill. Or my favorite, one of my favorite, bypass. You don't attack your competitor. That's why this is grayed out. It's intentional. You try to do something else. For example, you target a different niche. I innovate the industry. You use a different solution. You target, I don't know, cruises for families with dogs. Something like that the competitors don't do. Very specific, where they will not match you in terms of speed of execution of the content you are producing. Takeaways. Real content audits take data work. Well, you learned how to structure a great content audit. Please check my resources at the end because it's a long topic. In Milan, I talked about this for 1 hour and 30, so it's quite long. Understand the business model first. You cannot compare a B2B SaaS with an e-commerce and say they are the same things. They are not in terms of operations, businesses, requirements, and effort. Absolutely not. And big websites follow different processes. Although the metrics are equal for everyone, you don't need to overdo it for small websites. You just need to be effective and quick. Quick is important. I have some extra resources. I usually teach to agencies or even big companies how to use your data for SEO and not. I have some discounts that you can find in my QR code, and I'm also working on a course to teach analysts or more technical people how to think about the business and how to go beyond the simple task or the checklist. And my blog, of course. Everything is here. You can scan it now. I wait for you guys. Yeah. Perfect. And that's it. Thank you a lot.